Hey everybody, welcome back to Set the Pipe. I am Sully, their CK Bear, and our East Coast correspondent, Dave Detinley, is joining us today. Once again, what's up, fellas?
What's up, boys?
Good to be back again. I mean, we started this saying we got to get past 10 episodes, and this is the 11th episode, so pretty exciting.
Good.
Pretty exciting to be here.
Yeah, before we started, hit the record button, we got into a little bit of high school girls beach volleyball, kind of discussing the boys, if that's ever going to happen, and we all know, the mix of clubs going on right now. You got some men's volleyball going on right now. We've missed Dave a couple times, so he's been keeping us updated. So we'll get an update from him. But big matches coming up, guys. You guys planning on seeing, or are you guys just busy?
Well, busy.
Yeah,
busy. I know there's a couple matches. I'm going to try to get to one next week, but
it's hard.
Yeah, there's a couple big ones this weekend. I'll try to catch them on the TV and do that as well. But
yeah, Cal's coming to Northridge, and
they're coming there Friday night, tomorrow night.
ESPN, it's going to be on ESPN Plus.
I'm going to watch that. I couldn't make it down. Speaking of Cal Lutheran and at Northridge, so we do our pod last week, and we dropped that little one and bunch of the stories I told on that podcast, which was with the group of Northridge. Chuck English, who's the head coach at Cal Lutheran University, is on that text chain.
No kidding.
So he's actually going to be joining us, not today, but sometime soon.
Awesome.
He played at Northridge right before me. I looked up to him. He was a hero of mine, a mentor. He's a great coach in what he's doing, obviously, at Cal Lutheran. But it was pretty funny to hear it after the pod dropped, too, when they got to hear what some of the stories that we had talked about via the text. So we got a plethora of people ready to jump on this
It's just
podcast,
the tip of the iceberg, man. Yeah.
Funny.
It's going to be awesome.
Sully was saying your list of guests is up to like over 80 right now. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, that's what we have. That's what we have on an Excel spreadsheet right now. And it's funny because oh, have we had this person? No, put it on the spreadsheet. And it just keeps getting longer and longer. Yeah.
You know what it is, Dave? And like we talked last time you were on this thing, the thing that's so great, at least for me, and I think it is for both of these guys talking to him, is this is fun for us, right? Like we're trying to get the word out. We're trying to spread volleyball, the love and the joy and everything about volleyball, but we're doing this to have a great time and really just to reminisce and talk and tell stories. That was the whole point of it. So it's been really fun. And I mean, I'm not going to say names or anything, but I got 3 texts today after that pod drop that all wanted to be ready to be on the pod, and all of them are pretty big names in volleyball, and they've been around the block. It's just fun that we're doing this, and I'm excited to continue it and also at the same time continue to evangelize volleyball at every level.
Before you joined, we were just having a Long Beach reunion of some years that we knew some similar names as well. So
yeah, Coley. It was we were telling Dave before you came on, and I'm like, have you listened to pod? I just dropped it yesterday. He's like, what? No, I'm like, I gave you a shout out and everything. I'm like, you're gonna die at some of the stories that was already told and stuff that I had to edit out, and just how many people want to tell stories now. I mean, I had to. There was part I had to edit out that I was crying. I was laughing so hard. Oh my God, these two had me in stitches. It was so funny. But that's why we're doing this, right? So
good.
Yeah, Sunday afternoons.
I think everyone has different. I mean, I'm sure every sport has its own little culture within the culture, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about volleyball, and anyone that's played it or has been, from the high school to the collegiate on level, know the kind of mischief stories that go around the sport of volleyball, from indoor to beach, and most of them are all fun and games and great. So to hear people tell stories, for us to tell stories in the past, and I'd like to hear some of the younger stories, like some of the younger guys that have played and women as well that have played in the last 10 years, and see what the difference is of playing collegiate volleyball. I mean, my I want to call her my daughter-in-law, but my son's girlfriend, who will be my daughter-in-law, she played volleyball at UCLA. So she, was there when they were, going to the playoffs and doing all these things these last few years. It just COVID was there. So it was hard to really, get the whole college experience. But I'd love to hear some stories from the younger generation of what it's like traveling indoor. I still see it, the 6-man. I still hear other stuff that's going on. It's still similar than it was when we were playing.
I used one of your quotes actually today, manufactured fun. I used that today. I'm like, because I was at a house and they didn't have a TV there. They didn't have any phones, anything. And they're like, yeah, I want my kids to use their imagination. And I'm like, yeah, because back in the day we had to manufacture fun. He's like, yeah, that's a great way to put it. I'm like, yeah, that was my idea. That was my quote. It was perfectly put, though. I mean, it was right. I mean, we actually had to manufacture fun, and so that's where the stories come into play. Where you would think they'd be in buses or in planes or whatever on their phones, not manufacturing funds because it's in front of them the whole time. So, yeah, I had to use that quote today. I couldn't believe I did it, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
Great, it's true though.
No, for sure. Dave, let's get to your stuff, man. I mean, you got some D3 love, you got some East Coast love going on there. What's up?
Well, first I got to ask you guys. Did you guys watch the UCI SC match?
I was there.
He was there
live.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
We've rewatched the fifth set about 3 times so far because I thought that was an epic match.
It went forever, and it was that. I meant to talk about that match like more in depth when we did last week, but it was almost 3 hours. It was like we had talked about. You don't see that that often in rally scoring games. It literally was like 2 hours and 50 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And so we got out of there at almost 10 o'clock at night. The match was at 7, which thank gosh I live only 10 minutes away. But it was it was unbelievable. And that fifth set, I mean, SC had chances and UCI didn't quit, and UCI had chances. USC didn't quit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just such a great match. And that. As I got older, I used to, younger, we all used to be like, oh, we want to win. As I get older, I appreciate and feel, sorry is not the right word, but feel bad for the loser in a match like that. Because it sucks that someone has to lose like that. It's one thing if you go in there and you get your ass kicked and you just don't deserve to win. But it's another thing when you just compete and you give it all and you have like swings to win the match and you don't win and you lose. I don't remember what it was, 21, games to 15. What was it, 27-25 or something like that? Or
in the fifth?
Yeah, in the fifth.
I think it was 26-24.
Yeah, 26-24. Yeah. I mean, games are to 15. Like, to lose 26-24 in the fifth, what a heartbreak, for SC on the road, too, which would have been a beating number 2 in the country on their court with a great crowd and a great match.
Hey, so I got to give a little shout-out to junior college volleyball right now. I coach at Santiago Canyon, but this is to Orange Coast and Moore Park, okay? They played, Orange Coast is great, coached by Travis Turner and Mike D'Alessandro Deli. They had a battle up at Moore Park that went 5, and I think the final score was 34-32 in the fifth, which is unbelievable. I mean,
so cool.
And it's like every point matters, and I was talking with Deli, and they had like 7 swings to win it, and it just didn't happen, and Orange Coast came up a little short, but I mean, both teams had to definitely improve just from that one set right there.
For sure.
34-32, that is unbelievable.
Swing, don't swing, make a mistake, keep ball in play, all that, right? Yeah. Crazy.
So, Dave, what was your take on the match? I mean, you said you watched it and you watched the fifth set a lot. What was your take on that SC-UCI match?
So I'll just say this from a distance. I have been a big fan of UCI all year. Very impressed with them from the national semifinals last year, I guess, and just carrying over. And so I thought they might be the ones who are going to challenge Long Beach. And then what happened at UCLA, I guess, the next couple nights after that, I was like, oh, I did not call that. But overall, epic. Do you guys feel like, is SC kind of making a comeback this year, sort of? Have they been like this is going to be terrible to say it like this, but kind of mid-tier for a few years, and now they've got this amazing team in place?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you'd say mid-tier, but, they've struggled getting to where USC volleyball has gotten to in the past. That's probably the best way I would say it. They haven't been at the top tier with Long Beach and UCLA and being in those championship, and Hawaii in those conference championships. They still win matches against those teams, but not consistently. 2 years ago, Jeff Nygaard, who's the head coach, we all played against him. Jeff,
UCLA stud.
UCLA, went to school with my wife. He's a year great younger than me, but we played against each other a bunch. And 2 years ago, he went out and got Dylan Klein. He's a local kid, went to Loyola High School, and his family's the Kleins. That's a whole nother story. We can talk about it. His dad and I won a junior Olympic gold medal together. And they went out and got him, and he was one of the best, freshmen in the country last year. And they were able to get a few more kids that have come into the program now, and just also through all the years of Nygaard putting the kids together, just starting to get them better and believing in, being part of USC volleyball. And so they were 5th in the country at that match, playing against, UCI at UCI, and literally had a couple swings for the match. So I think at the end of the year, with the talent they have, I think they're going to be in the mix. But what we said on Sunday, and I'll just repeat it, is I don't think right now anyone's in the same ballpark as Long Beach.
So my connection to that team is the setter played at a place called a club team called C2 Smack, and they're out of Tennessee. And the last big USAV boys championship was in Vegas. I mean, like the big one before everybody went AAU. They won that championship at 16s, and he was their setter. And we got to see that guy live. He was really legit. I'm just going to say, at the 16s, he was a man among boys. And then he left early the next year, 2 years later or something, to go to SC early. So I always remember seeing him in Vegas sitting courtside with their families. And
I think that's another reason why they've gotten a lot better. So he came last year late, right? And got there and trying to get into the system, have a whole year of training, be with the team. And, you know, he did a really nice job in that UCI match. Like they were in, like I said, you know, they had chances and they were in it. It's hard though, when you know, I don't know, I'm sure you've watched it on TV, especially being an alumni, but like, I don't mean to keep, you know, talking about it, but like when you watch a match, it's like, I don't know, I'm watching college and you're watching Cooper Flagg at Duke. Like he's not better than every single buddy, but he's better than a lot, you know?
Most everybody.
Like when you're watching Nikolov play at Long Beach, it's like, it's really not even in like the same realm. Like all the setters that are phenomenal setters right now in this country in Division I men's volleyball, SC, UCLA, some of the best. It's literally no comparison at this point. You know, in my opinion, again, people might get mad at me for saying that, but he is a unicorn. He's something I've never seen. Like Bear said last week, their free ball passes up to the 5-foot line, and he could jump out of the back row and hit it, or jump out of the back row, pretend to hit it and set it. And it's not like, oh my God, he could set it wherever he wants from wherever he is. And that's, I mean, again, I've never seen that before. And so like he's doing things and changing the game, which it's fun to watch. So looking at all the other setters, they're getting better. And the cool thing is for them, like if I'm the USC setter or the UCLA setter, this kid's a freshman and he's coming here, is you learn from that. You watch him and you go, okay, like I thought I was the best. Well, I'm not. You know, it's like the same thing when you're in basketball or football. Like you thought you were, and then you say, oh, that's Michael Jordan. Oh shit, I better start working harder. Like I need to do more stuff. And I think he's going to hopefully help us, get better, because he's damn good.
Hey, so Division I, now the rankings, you still have the most votes. All the votes actually go to unanimous Long Beach State at number 1, 23 votes. UCLA is 2 and UC Irvine is 3. They swapped rankings from last week. Hawaii stays the same at 4, as well as SC, BYU, and Loyola. Stanford jumps up to 8 from 10. Pepperdine is 9 from 11. And Cal State University, Northridge.
There you go, Coley.
From 12 to number 10.
Top 10 in the United States of America. It's the Harvard of the West Coast. That's the first thing everyone knows. Cal State University, Northridge, Harvard of the West Coast, Long Beach State, Princeton of the West Coast. But yeah, we're right there.
We all know that. 11 goes to Ball State and 12 to Grand Canyon. They were both tied last week at 8, so they've dropped. McKendree goes from 17 to number 13. UCSD at 14, Lewis 15, Ohio State and Santa Barbara tied at 16. Lincoln Memorial still hangs on to that number 18. NJIT is now in the 19th spot, and Penn State drops 1 to number 20. That is Division I-2 polls. So,
do you guys know anything about that Lincoln Memorial team area?
No, do you?
Yeah, I do. I visited the campus. So it sits right below, it's right on the border of, let's see, Tennessee, I think Kentucky, Cumberland Gap National Park. It sits right below there. It's this small university that sits on 1,000 acres. Why it stands out, Sully, is that's where Cooch's son played.
Oh, played first. You know he's at Ohio State now.
I do know that.
Yeah.
I do.
Crazy.
Yeah. But we went and watched them play when we were touring campuses, but we went and watched them play Barton, which is a D2 school. Oak plays in the D1. And LMU, like, pummeled them. And that's where I saw Cooch's last name, and I had to go talk to him, and we kind of reconnected with Robert after that. But it's to say it's in not near anything would be an understatement. Lincoln Memorial, that they have absolutely owned the independent D1 because there's a tournament every year as well that for all the independent schools. And so they've owned it for 6 years in a row or something like that. They're amazing. And the SC's setters club coach at C2 SMAC, I think, got the head coach job there. He was the assistant there for a while.
Awesome.
Then he runs it. So
And there's
again,
a little
more
movement.
connections.
We just saw a little movement in men's volleyball from an interim head coach. Where was Seifert at?
He was at Concordia University.
Concordia. He's now the assistant coach for women's LMU at Loyola Marymount in Southern California. So he made the move back
Home
to
of the Lions.
Yeah, the women's game. I know he's at Santa Barbara for a little bit. He's at Long Beach State for a little bit. So, yep, he's new the new
LMU
assistant
cut their
coach
men's
there.
program. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, they did that a long time ago
Did they?
when we were just finishing up in college. So
What about San Diego State?
they cut it as well back in, it
Oh,
was
way
somewhere
back.
between 94 to 96, I think.
Yeah, they cut that a long
Okay.
time ago.
They Loyola, LMU, and San Diego State cut their men's volleyball programs roughly the same time. It might have been within a
didn't
year or
realize
two, but it was right after I had finished in 93. It was somewhere between 93 and probably
Yeah.
96 that both of them were gone. And that's a bummer because they both would be such great programs here in Southern California. They always were. I loved playing down in San Diego State.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah, I mean they had good players, high flying. They were the
Yeah.
blue collar guys, right? You had Edeberry and
Edinburgh.
who was their
Mataraki.
setter?
Mataraki. Yeah.
Mataraki, big old Mataraki.
Oh, yeah.
The setter was Tagore.
Tagore was their setter for a while, and so was Asher.
Bimbo
So, I mean,
Depot Memba, he was
yeah,
down
Ben-
there.
Yeah, he played. I
Big
mean,
Ben.
Ben
Aaron
played there?
Boss, John Ross. I mean, they had some really. They were a good volleyball team. They
Yeah.
were really. They were always tough to play and a tough place to play. I wish they'd bring it back. With all the growth
Yeah.
of volleyball, maybe a school like that in the state system might be able to.
Well, you got
you know-
Hilliard and Tim is down there for the women's. That's who's down there right now. So
Oh.
you got a nice little influence if they
Okay.
even consider it. Not that they would take over the program, but you
You know,
shot those two
They're
guys
moving
there.
into the Pac-12. So in 2026, San Diego State is.
Yeah.
So they'll get more money coming in from the media and stuff from being in that conference. So, maybe, someone would want to be down there and want to try to resurrect it. You'd have to raise money for it. You'd have to get the buyoff from the school. But I think
I mean, if Stanford can do it, why not?
San Diego State would be such a great addition with, adding it to Grand Canyon and, all the Lincoln Memorial. Like you could just go down the list of how cool it would be to come out here and play in San Diego.
I mean, it's
Sully,
a great spot.
Yeah, it is a great spot for
Our
sure.
number one guy on Volleyball Magazine's Fab 50 our year, 87, I believe was Hugh
Foster. Yeah.
and he went there.
Yeah, he went to San Diego State. We actually played. I was with him 1 or 2 years. Oh my God, Tim, don't start smiling. At
Memphis, come
A6
on, that
Paul
was
Mitchell. He
Memphis
was
with
part of the
you.
A6 Paul Mitchell
It was a great time.
family,
Wow.
but he's got some stories for sure
Right.
with this crew that we have here.
He was a
Um,
phenom.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
was one of the guys that people would tell you like a man among boys when he was in high school.
yeah, when he was in
I mean,
high school,
Newport
Del
Harbor,
Hewitt says
I
that.
think.
willed himself, and he chose not to continue to play volleyball. Had he wanted to,
Yeah.
he'd maybe gone down as one of the best to ever play. He already was one in his when he played. He's a great guy too. I love. Hey Hugh, how are you? If you're listening,
Yeah,
hit
yeah.
subscribe.
Love to have him on here. That'd
yeah,
be fun.
I need to
Would
text
love to
you
have
and
him on
get you
here.
on
He's
here.
one of the funniest guys in the world.
He really is.
hilarious.
And what was cool is we're playing in Memphis. Long Beach, a lot of the guys that were on the Long Beach team, Al, Bear, they had just lost the year before and they were done in college, right? So they had just finished. It was my senior year. I had just lost in the national championship. So we put this team together. We had, this is actually when we took the Paul Mitchell sponsor over because we beat them in the finals, but we needed an outside hitter and end up getting Hugh, right? Hugh's like,
Okay.
I haven't played in a long time. Like I really haven't touched a ball in a while. Like came to one practice, I think. And like, he passed like a 2.9 the whole tournament. Like he just passed perfect.
Yeah.
Like didn't even like
He's thumping balls.
just banging balls. Like he was head and shoulders above everyone. And
Yeah.
he hadn't even really played. And,
Just a
and like you
natural.
said, he's a natural and he's super fun in the stories and, love me some Hugh Foster.
Oh man, he made me laugh so hard. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
Can't tell
his-
all those
his
stories,
quirky
but
comments
No, we
were
can't.
yeah,
Yes,
really funny. Those are some of those ones that you got to edit, and some of them. So
he had some nice pictures
don't
of his
have to.
dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
What?
that
His
was a really
plants.
fun trip though.
He showed
know,
us his plants that he
Yeah.
raised.
did.
Yeah.
We
My dog and my
we
plants,
played Walking in Memphis by Mark Cohn every time leaving the hotel, and
As you should.
Go down to
got
Beale
down-
Street.
It was awesome.
we went to Beale Street every night after we played, and we won. And it was the first of many for Paul Mitchell, but for us, Raymond Construction taking Paul Mitchell's
Yeah, Bailey set for that
name,
team.
and Deli was the center. So
Yep.
we were good. Presh came over. That was Presh's first time. He was playing on the right. You both were there. I mean, we were good.
And
we had a
your
good
guy
team.
Cooch was on that team too.
Cooch and I were the middles.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was
No,
it was a good
great.
time.
And
I
we
remember
stayed
we
at the
went
Brown
to
Circuit.
one, I think it was a dueling piano bar, and one of the guys from the East Coast got in Alan's face, and Alan's just sitting there, like, what are you gonna do? And so Huey pulls up right next to us because I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? So I start walking over there. I see Huey has got his hand kind of down to a side, but backwards, like his palm facing backwards. And I look at it. Oh, he's got a beer bottle in his hand. I'm like, oh, Hugh's got this. We're good.
Game on.
Like,
Game on.
and he was looking. I'm like, you don't want to do this. Like, you probably should move along. You know what I mean? That was that was just the beginning of the night.
That was the beginning of the night, the beginning of the tournament, and
Yep.
I mean, that team was like Cooch and I in the middle. Knipe actually played on the left with
That was when he was trying to go to the national team, right? Trying to get out of reps on the left
work
side.
on the left side. Mark Prussia was the right side,
Right
and Deli
side.
was our setter.
Yep.
And that wasn't. I mean, we all played all different matches and different lineups, but that was the team. Like that. That's a pretty solid team right out of college and playing at nationals, and we were able to secure the dub and get our first gold. And for me, I was 0-2 in the finals going in. That was my third year, so it was nice to get a win.
What a great
for sure.
experience that was.
Did you
was-
come
that
up
was fun.
against?
That was
Did
so
you ever
much
play
fun.
against Investors Realty? Were they out of Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And then was Sports Performance a team out of Chicago? I know they're a big club team, but
Yeah, no, they
back
didn't
then-
have a men's team. The Strongies, they came out of Chicago. They were
Yeah.
great. There was a lot of great teams from all over, and then they started letting some international teams in. But
Yeah.
the thing about Memphis, you guys remember that steakhouse we went that Big's brother took us to after
Oh,
we
yeah,
won
Paul.
that in 90?
Yeah, Big
when
Paul.
Paul took us to. Yeah, it was
the butcher shop, maybe.
The butcher shop. I think that's what it was called in Memphis.
Good call.
One of the best steaks, maybe the best steak I ever had in my life.
They
I
cooked it
probably
right in
didn't-
front of you.
right in
that
front of
big,
you.
huge grill.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's good dub.
Yeah. Totally true. It was awesome.
Big bigs.
Bigs. So just real quick, go down the polls. I know we're all about stories, but might as well we'll get caught up with this. So NYU for Division III men's, 27 votes to Southern Virginia at 2 with 3 first place votes, and it looks like number 3 Vassar is down to number 7. So number 3 Stevens, Springfield, Carthage, Juniata, then Vassar. Cal Lutheran stays at 8. Messiah at 9. Wentworth 10. Hobart at 11. Loras 12. 13. St. John Fisher 14. Aurora stays the same. UC Santa Cruz stays at 15. Dave, you got to help me with this.
Misericordia.
No.
Yeah.
What is it?
Misericordia. Yeah.
Misericordia.
Mm-hmm.
Misericordia stays at 16. Lassell at 17 stays the same thing. North Central in Illinois is 18. Baldwin Wallace 19, and MIT, smart guys, number 20.
Yeah, I was writing up about this weekend because the last 2 weekends have been epic. Just absolute bloodshed has happened across the D3 landscape. So many ranked teams playing each other, knocking each other off. But this last weekend was the mover because Vassar had been undefeated.
Now they're 12-1.
That's right. And
They
they just got
to
knocked
7
off.
from 3.
I'm pretty sure, I got to think about this. I have this in my notes. Springfield knocked them off, which is Mr. Coach Sullivan's team. Let me see.
That's all good. It's
Yes,
you got
it
top
was
2 or
Springfield.
15-0 and 13-0.
Springfield.
By the way.
So I actually laid eyes. I was at got to see Southern Virginia play live. I will say this legitimately. They were incredible. Now, were they playing the top talent? Were they playing in NYU, a Vassar? No, they weren't. Which I'll talk to in a minute because I analyzed their schedule. They've only played one ranked team all year.
That's a problem.
And I believe they were undefeated last year going into the National Elite Eight and got upset as well. But overall, they were the most complete team I've seen in these last couple of weeks alone. And I've probably seen 10 of the Division III teams from all levels across. I was in Ohio 2 weeks ago at a tournament and got to see 5 teams up there play. Then was obviously between DC and Western Virginia, and got to see another 4 or 5 teams play over these last couple of weeks. So I've gotten to see a pretty good swath, if you will, of D3 volleyball live.
Hey,
But
Coley, Bear, have you guys seen Division III live?
I have. I haven't seen it recently, but I have. And I really wanted to, but I just couldn't get up to that match tomorrow night at Northridge because obviously, like I said, I'd love my Matadors and Theo and what they're doing. And
I mean, because
like
I haven't.
said, Chuck English is running Kalu and doing such a great job there, but just can't get there.
Yeah, no, I haven't, and I didn't even realize there was something in Illinois. I don't know how far it is, but
there's a lot.
Bear, have you been to one yet?
You know, unfortunately, when I coach, I'm coaching right now.
Same time.
So,
I get
as
that.
much as I'd like to go see a D3, D2, D1.
Even D1.
I don't even get much chances to see that until our season's over.
Yeah.
I did get to sneak away and see the Long Beach match the other night against Grand Canyon, but I have to wait until my season's over.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll be full bore volleyball soon. My kid is still in the
basketball.
playoffs. They played in their Open in the CIF championship. Did
give him a shout out, Coley. Give us an update.
Did good
brother.
enough to make the state Sunday to do the state pairings.
Yeah,
most likely we'll drop to D1 in the state, which is perfectly fine and probably where we belong after playing in the Open, which is the toughest playoff conference in the United States for high school.
D1, D2,
and then in
California
it goes down. It goes Open. Only this year, 10 teams qualified. In the last like eight years, it's only been 8. But then it's Division 1, then it goes Division 2, 2AA, 3, 3AA, 4, 4AA, 5, 5AA, and I think it's 32 teams. There could be a few buys here and there, but usually 32-team bracket. There's five games you play: first round, second round, quarters, semis,
and
finals. Or
do they just rank them in California, or is it like they win their CIF sectional, like Northern, Central, Southern? How does that play out?
So to qualify, there's different sections: Southern section, San Diego section, Central section, Northern section, LA City section, which is where I'm proud of being when I played in the LA City section. There's all those sections that have their own championships.
Okay.
The CIF Southern section is, I think, the largest, and as of late, maybe even more than as of late, it's the number 1 section in all of the United States overall. It has.
You've been saying that,
and it's just been, they have 4 McDonald's All-Americans in just the greater Southern California area. So every region does their own Open. Not everyone has 10 teams or 8 teams. They might only have 4. So then there's an Open. So that's the Open championship in your region. Then there's the Division 1. Now listen, San Diego doesn't have all the way down to like Division 12 AA like we do because we have more schools. Just like in the Central section, they don't have that, like Fresno and Big. They don't have as many schools as the Southern section does. So there's, I think, 4 or 5 teams. I think it's 4 from the Open CIF playoffs qualify, and then the rest of the regions probably only have their top team that wins the Open in the Southern section, and then the Northern California. So then they go to state. Starts next week. There'll be Division 1. There's no AA's for state. It's Division 1, it's Division 2, it's Division 3, and they will reseed the teams where they kind of see fit after the CIF. The CIF was all done this year for the first time ever in computers. It wasn't like committees where they pick people. It was a computer algorithm. They put you in. They did it for everything from girls volleyball, and it was people were a little freaked out this
strength
year.
The schedule kind of stuff, that's all included, or
they didn't do strength of schedule. They're going to tweak that to next year because they need to, and they also need to count out of state games because schools that the 2 teams that are in the finals are Notre Dame and Roosevelt. Roosevelt's one of the best teams in the country. They're playing teams from Florida, or they're playing teams like that should be counted than just playing a local school, right? The cool thing that I want to give a shout out to, and again, we're talking volleyball, but I think this is awesome because I'm a public school kid, even though my kids go to private schools, but in Division 1, which is not easy to win here. Division 1 is pretty elite. I mean, you're taking maybe the top teams that are elite, but they still lose. Division 1 is Los Alamitos versus Miracosta, 2 local schools with local kids playing at one of the highest levels this country has to offer. They're playing each other in the CIF Division 1 finals. I'm excited for both schools. I'm cheering for both. We played Los Al earlier this year. A lot of my friends live in the Manhattan Beach area, and all of that. So I think that's kind of cool.
Where does Sierra Canyon
Sierra
play?
Canyon was in the Open in one of the pools. They're probably going to drop. They finished 3rd in their pool. The top 2 teams go to the Open in the state, and the second 2 go to Division 1, and then the 5th place team in that pool didn't make it to state. So we tied for second in a 3-way tie. And the way the tiebreakers won, we tied at the point differential. And then the next one was points allowed. So we won on that.
Yeah.
Had we given up one more point, or the team that ended up losing out scored one more point on the last game of the season this past Tuesday in the pool play, we'd have been out. So it's just crazy that it went down like that all the way down to the tiebreaker. But we're fortunate. I'm happy our team deserves to be in it. So we have a real chance. It'll be fun. We start Tuesday, single limb now. So we could be done next week. Could be done next week. Could go all the way for 2 weeks and get a chance to play in the state. So
I know what you hope for. Where do you think how far do you think they're going to go?
Well, I'm going to believe in my son and his team. And
yeah.
I think they're going to go all the way. I think they're capable of it. And
you're a realistic guy. I mean, you put it out
I'm
there,
realistic.
right? So.
I mean, every team in this Division I we can beat.
Okay.
A few of the open teams we played, I thought we could beat, and we had chances to beat, but I just knew that was going to be. I mean, like I said, they've got kids that'll be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Not that the other teams don't, but it's a very winnable championship. It's also a very losable championship. There's probably 4 teams that could win it. It's just who's going to play the best, and I think the way we are for this bracket is we sit well. Again, that doesn't mean anything, but I believe we're going to win it. I'm gonna ride with my kid and go all the way. It'd be fun.
Love it.
They'd be playing in Sacramento in 2 weeks, which would be cool if they could make it.
Love it.
Great that they're there. First time he gets to do it in 3 years. They haven't made state once. So,
do you have a teammate? Last name Skopass. Does your son have a teammate?
We do. I do.
Yeah, I let him know that you guys
did.
And him and I went to college together, which makes it even cooler. Like him and I go way back. We were friends.
Yeah.
We lived in the same apartment complex. We still go golfing, and then him and his son and my son are really good friends and hang out, and he's on the basketball team too. So he hurt himself earlier this year in a really freak accident.
Yeah.
His son, went up for a layup all by himself and ended up dislocating the kneecap. And it was just one of those, kind of like you, Sully. It was just one of those weird plays. And, he's almost back on the court, so he'll be ready for his senior year and get to play club. But yeah.
Yeah. I got a text from his dad.
Him?
I work with him. I work with his dad. And I got a text after the last one that I was on with you guys.
The podcast,
next morning. Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Quick
Quick plug for my daughter, Tegan. Tegan Sullivan was on the podium as a freshman in her Division I conference for long jump. So congratulations to my girl, T.
Congrats, Sully. Congrats, T.
Yeah, it was
awesome,
funny.
Tegan.
I was able to go down to Indianapolis, and it was tight. I actually should share with you the marks, but it was like she actually tied for third, but they go to the second best jump. And so she won it outright. But so fourth place was tied. Fifth place was 0.01. Sixth place was 0.01. Seventh place was 0.02. Like that's how close it was to get on the podium. So pretty cool. Anyway, let's move on real quick to women's beach volleyball. Do you guys want to guess? Because you probably don't know who's number 1 in the country. Ooh. Yeah, you got to put it out there.
Hold on.
Don't look it up, dude.
Don't look. I'm going to say,
Yeah,
so I
what are you
know
doing? You
SC
can't do that.
was, UCLA I think was 3 before that. Who was 2?
What you got, Bear? Who's
TCU?
number 1?
I
What
got to
do you
go
got,
with
Bear?
Long Beach.
What do
Long
you
Beach
got?
isn't close, but
What do you got, Dave?
Did SC just lose a dual match? Or they did. So who did they lose to? They lost to LMU?
Waiting.
got to choose. I said TCU. That's my guess. I'm not even on. I should look at the internet, but
I'll
No,
go
that'd be
East
too
Coast,
no idea.
sort of. Is LSU? Florida State, because my coach's daughter plays at Florida State on their
It
team.
is the UCLA Bruins with 22 first place votes. Loyola Marymount is now number 2 in front of USC and TCU. They both dropped. Stanford, Cal Poly got actually one first place vote. Cal Poly did. 7, Florida State, number 8. Long Beach State moves up from number 10. That's solid. We'll take that. Number 9, Cal. 10, LSU. Then Arizona State, FAU. 13 is Hawaii. Texas at 14. Georgia State, 15. Washington, 16. FIU, 17. GCU, 18. North Florida. And again, Stetson hangs on to number 20.
we'll have to get. I know we've talked about so many people getting here, but we got to get 1 or 2 coaches in here from the beach side too.
Totally agree.
To promote the game, talk about it, talk about the. We talked about it last one about just the format and explain it more in detail from their side and how they pick their 1s compared to their 5s. And I think it would be really cool and just help again, evangelize the sport of beach volleyball. It's such a great sport, and especially collegiately and on the high school level out here. But that's cool.
Yeah, seeing it, it's fairly new, right? It's fairly new to the college landscape, and I'm sure those coaches have got those stories that need to be told, and we'd love to have them. So
is it
whoever we get on there?
you
guys.
Did you say 10 years old? That's a great question. I mean, we should pull it up right now. Someone pull it up. I'm gonna say 7 is what I'm gonna say.
More than 10 plus.
No,
I was
really?
coaching at Golden West College with the women's team there.
Sully, you pulling it up?
10 to 12 years ago. And I helped out with the women's beach team.
I keep getting older, and things just keep running down. I'm like, oh, it was last week, and it was like, oh, no, that was 3 years ago.
Games that seemed like they were 5 years ago were 10 to 15.
I'm saying 7 is when it was a collegiate
the
sport.
NCAA approved the first Division I. Okay, so we're going on the first Division I beach volleyball championship, or?
Well, that's the first year they had it. Then I would say. I mean, they had it the year before, but
they recognized it in 2010.
Okay, so that's 15 years ago.
Okay. In 2011, NCAA named beach volleyball an emerging sport in Division I and Division II. 2012, the ABCA began holding a separate championship for sand volleyball. That's when Long Beach State won that thing. And then in 2015, the NCAA approved the Division I championship and added D2 and D3 championships. So
you just won the just won the light set like Geeter. You were right on the money. You said 10.
10 years.
You'd be on the Price is Right now. Wow.
As long as you can break dance, you'll be fine.
Like Geeter, but that's all right.
So let's go back to number 1. That's awesome because Jenny Johnson-Jordan took over the program. She was an assistant there. Now she's the head coach. And for her to get her Bruins up on the podium right now at the preseason as the number 1 after a couple matches. And I'm excited for her, her lineage from that school and what she's done there as an athlete, what her father did.
And Dane
exciting.
trying to go for the 5-peat that you mentioned before last pod. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I mean, think about that. Like, it's one thing, like we talk about women's and how great Jarrett has done. And, we talked about Cook and, we go back to Al Skates. Like, he's took over the program and he's won 4 straight national championships.
That's Russ Rose stuff.
In Division I women's college volleyball, 4 straight national championships.
Can you imagine being a freshman? You having 4 rings?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, because that freshman class was 2 to 4 kids. That's it, and they're the ones holding 4 rings on. Dang, man,
it's amazing. And they started the season 1-0. I mean, started the season preseason number 1. He'll have them in the running.
Oh, I'm sure.
And again, Holly mentioned it, but the format is so cool for volleyball, for women's beach volleyball. And then last year was the first year they changed the playoffs in the tournament. So it used to be double elimination like a lot of beach volleyball tournaments are. But last year was the first time they made it like a basketball tournament in the NCAA. It's lose, you're out. Survive and advance. So there was no more, if you lost in the winner's bracket, you went to the loser's bracket, you found a way, you had to win the double final. Like, once you lose, you're done. It's 16 teams, you're in, you're out, you're out. And, SC was able to find a way to get through that and win that still. So I think it's cool. I think it's exciting. I look forward to when that happens down the road. But as Holly McPeak said, hopefully we can get it on TV a little bit more for the main matches.
They do teams, right? And that's, what is that, 6 teams, 6 versus 6?
5. So it's 5 teams. So it's 10 women. So it's team 1 through team 5. The ones will play on court 1.
Against
the
1.
2s will play. And so what it is, it depends on how many courts there are, but all 5 teams have to play the majority of the time. Now, I've seen it. We've seen it in the Olympics. Not in the Olympics, but you've seen it in the colleges. It could be 2-1.
Yeah.
And teams 4 and 5 are playing.
Yeah.
And the 4s win.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
You don't have to finish the match.
Yeah.
I'm sure if it's that, I'm sure sometimes they do, but like in a championship match, there's no reason to. You want to go celebrate. So, but that's what you got to do. You got to be the first one to win 3 out of the 5 different matches. And that's what makes it cool. Like, because when we all play individual, we've all played beach volleyball, right? In tournaments or whatever, or grass or whatever. It's you and your partner, and that's it. So if you win, yay. If you lose, you lose. If you lose in this, you're I don't want to say letting, that's a bad way to put it, but you're letting down your team, not just your school I mean, they need your win.
Team points.
They need your team points. And so it makes it exciting.
totally.
Like, nope.
Do they have individual? It's just team now.
Team it is. It's all it is.
Okay,
It's 3 out of 5, best 3 out of 5 with 5 teams, and they play. The thing that also again is, I'm not say unique, but they just say the ones. That doesn't mean it's the best team, but they're the ones through the 5s. The ones have to play the ones.
Yes,
so the ones aren't playing the 5s and the 3 playing the 2s.
Yeah.
So you have your team. I don't know when you have to put your roster in beforehand or whatever, but you have your ones and the ones play the ones, 2s play the 2s, and that's how it is all year. That doesn't mean you can't move from 1 to 3 or not during the tournament, right? And I don't know when you have to fill out the the roster of what your team is until, I don't know if it's the league, the year, like the old days when you had to put your libero in. The libero couldn't change. Now they've changed, but you put your libero in and that was it.
Yeah.
I don't know how far it is. We'll learn that when we get one of these coaches on soon here to talk about it.
And some of those 4s and 5s matches can be very, very exciting, and it means
for sure
either you win or not, right? So
it could come down to them,
right?
Yeah.
So every match matters.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's strategic. I've talked to Dane about this before, but it just because you're on the 5th team doesn't mean you're the 5th best player or you're the 9th best player. Like, it's strategic. It's how you put it. Like, if you're at USC or UCLA or Texas, like, I would assume just all 10 women are pretty damn good, right?
Yeah,
like,
right,
and,
for sure.
and it's not just the 10; it's the other 5 to 10 more that you have that are also competing to get into those
spots.
Those 5 spots or 5 team spots. So it's the volleyball's gnarly, right? And so like you're playing at a high level just to get into one of those numbers, and those numbers can change. And I think it's just, again, strategic. Like 5th team, 1 team, you need to win, right? Like you need to win to help your team no matter what number you are.
So you brought up Dane. Is anybody in contact still with Fenoy? Eric Fenoy?
I can talk to Fenoy. I'd love to have those 2 on.
Oh, those 2. What they did, unreal. That's unreal to me. It was unreal. So winning the gold, that's... Yeah, so Fenoy would be good because I know he's doing real estate. I mean, we were never friends or anything, but just the same age. He was an 87 guy, right? Graduated from high school. And so, just to see what he did at Santa Barbara, then win the gold, and now he's doing very good things in, the real estate world. It's crazy. What is the snicker on your face for, Bear?
Oh, no, I was just thinking about Dane
More
Blanton
stories.
and playing against him. And it was kind of fun when right after when Dane won the gold medal, I was coaching at Golden West College with Steve Ucatel and Dane Blanton. They would televise our games on just like a local station, and Dane Blanton used to do the color on there, and it was awesome. He would interview us afterwards, and we were on a running loop, and I was just thinking about that. And Brian Lewis, he was another guy we probably should get on this thing.
Love to get Louis on here.
I remember him.
He was just finishing up his career on the beach, and he would get him and Steve were really good friends, you could tell. And we used to work out with him on the beach or whatever. And he was kind of upset with us because we were getting more TV time than he did. So that's kind of what I was.
Well, Dane also
in
did
my head right there.
Lakers stuff too, right, Coley?
Clippers. He did Clippers stuff.
Okay.
So Dane and Geeter were working at the same time in the early days, learning their craft.
They're sidelined, right?
The rad thing about Dane, besides, again, like I say this about a lot of these people, what a great human being he is,
person,
one of my really good friends, is he just doesn't coach volleyball. Like he still does commentary. He does beach commentary. Like he was at the Olympics, and he's still doing AVP events, and he's still on NBC on a Sunday when you're watching those matches be played.
Awesome.
He's the head women's volleyball coach at USC, and he's still calling beach volleyball games or sidelines and all of that. It's great because again, I'm going to now force him to get on here. Sorry, Dan, I'm going to have to make you get on this, but like his story, like we talked about stories, like just coming from the Laguna Beach, going to Pepperdine, not being a superstar in the early years of his collegiate to becoming pretty darn good, and to making this career to being one of the best beach volleyball players that this country's seen. He won a gold medal, and his work ethic and the way he goes about it is different than most people could fathom. And like his story would be cool to talk about because of all of those reasons. And then he's done the same thing with USC when he took over this program. He's methodical with the way he does things, and he's a winner. And when you're that kind of a person, it's hard not to win. And obviously 4 in a row tells you that. But I will text him right after this and tell him that we need to get him on here to talk beach volleyball.
Yeah, first time I ran into Dane, because right after college, if we didn't play clubs together, you just didn't like your I just didn't like people from UCLA, didn't like people from Pepperdine, just didn't. I went up to him at Gulf Shores at the national championship, and I think he was commentating. He wasn't coaching at the time. And we just shot the shit for a good hour or so, just reminiscing kind of thing. It was just a good dude. He didn't have to, right? But I just was like, hey, just want to introduce myself. I know we're competitors, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, and that was kind of cool. But yeah, he was very, very warm, very open, just very relaxed conversations. So that was cool. Would love to have him on there. I like I said, the story you just talked about, amazing, right? And I'm sure he has stories as well. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to steal it because, but it's been public and they talked about it, but their run to get to the Olympics, to find a way to just get in and then to get there and then to win the gold medal, in Sydney, and the way they did it and the way they played. And I mean, it's, and again, Fenoy and Dane have been friends of mine forever, and watching him win and then seeing it, and he's still hearing the stories. And to this day, it's so cool. Yeah, it's just so cool that they were able to do that.
I mean, Dane can come on here 4 or 5 times and still not complete everything that he's done, or stories that he has and people that he knows and all the adventures that he's had. I mean, it's just like most of the people we're going to have on here. Like we already said about Holly. Okay, well, we didn't really touch on your beach program. I mean, your beach career, you have 72 victories. So we're going to need you to come back. It's going to be the same thing with Dane for sure.
So have you, so Dave, get back to Cal Lou here. Have you seen them on tape at all?
I mean, I've watched them play. They played Dominican at Dominican in Chicago, and Dominican had them, lost in 5. And that was their second 5-setter loss to Cal Lou. Cal Lou has, in my opinion, probably had the most gnarliest schedule of all. I mean, they had an early season tournament that they won. They had an early season loss to a school called Mount Union out of Ohio.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, and then went on a tear, came to the Midwest and played a 5-setter against Dominican, another 5-setter Benedictine, these are Chicago schools, Sully, so not too far, and then I want to say a 5-setter against North Central, but then they lost to Aurora. I mean, at the very end of it, they lose 3-0 to Aurora, and Aurora's the 12th right now, 12th, 13th ranked team in the country, and then I think they've won out. But I've been waiting for this match tomorrow night, and then they play UCSB Sunday too, so they're on a good. And Coley, I know we talked about the whole interdivisional thing, and I found some other examples this year. So there's a school out of Indiana called Trine, who played Ball State early on, like the first match.
Yep.
They lost 3-0. I haven't seen the video of it. I'm trying to find the video just to kind of see. But this will be the first, it'll be obviously telecast or broadcast, excuse me, ESPN Plus. This will be the first eye test on the big difference now between one of the top-ranked D3 schools and obviously Northridge. So
yeah, and Northridge has gotten better, and they've won some really big matches lately of late. And Theo's doing a fantastic job. So I'm excited for that. And then the thing we talked about, I think, again, the benefits for some of these folks that have teams like Cal Lutherans in Thousand Oaks, which has UCLA, USC, Pepperdine, Santa Barbara, UCSD, UC Irvine. I think, is that all I'm thinking? I'm just on like the Division I that I can think of from here. I think that's it. All within an hour and a half driving from it.
Yeah.
Is like you can get
Concordia
to those
Irvine,
matches.
right?
Concordia, I forgot Concordia there as well. So you've got 7-8 matches, depending on strength of schedule, and they can fit it in. That all these coaches at the high level want to continue to grow the sport. They all, I would assume, know Chuck and what he's doing there. So what a benefit for Cal Lutheran and for volleyball, but that they get a chance to play Northridge and Santa Barbara in the middle of the season.
Absolutely.
Santa Barbara just battled UCLA last night. It was 1-1. It was going into game 3. It was tight. UCLA ended up winning in 4. But like you said, they're playing UCSB in a week or two. Like, how cool for them, and how cool for the sport to continue to watch the foster of it growing.
Yeah, and we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago. Cole, you specifically said when you and Mooney were coaching, you would they don't want to leave California, right? And if they don't get out of California, where there's now so much more. I mean, we have a East Coast correspondent talking about D3.
Well, here's the problem, and here's why. Dave, where are you right now?
Raleigh, North Carolina.
What's the weather?
Well, now it's 70 degrees.
Okay, so you're okay. Like today and yesterday was like almost in the 80s here. So like having someone leave California, I was trying to be funny, but like,
for sure.
It's hard to leave California just because of that. But
let's ask Sully what his temperature is. Right now.
Exactly. I already know what it is. Probably minus whatever it was, or it was the
Actually,
other day.
it's 41 right now, but it feels like
that's
37.
balmy.
I
That's
know.
shorts, get some color.
You
Absolutely.
guys should
Is it
come
sunny?
visit.
You could do
I'm just
that.
saying, it's gonna be 36 on Saturday with a low of 17. Come on down, brothers. We'll barbecue or something.
Yeah,
man, I
throw a
just got
towel
back
out.
from Ohio. Okay, Sully, northern Ohio or middle of Ohio. I get it. We got caught in a blizzard. It didn't reach above 25 the whole time we were there.
Oh, I would text these. I would text these two, going, dude. So it's gonna feel like negative 19 when it stop by. Chloe's like, on a plane. Let's go.
I've been thinking a lot, and I know we're going to have some NIL folks on here. We're going to talk juniors here soon too.
Yes.
And I think that'll be really cool. Some folks that do the recruiting and helping young junior volleyball players, both boys and girls. But I will say, I think one of the positive things that's going to happen from the drawdown from the NIL and the portal and all this stuff is some of these levels that have always been good. Let's clear that up. They've always been great to play at, but now they're going to be even that much better, because now you're going to get kids from, maybe California that didn't want to look at North Carolina or South Carolina or Minnesota or, anywhere like just to go to college, because now they may, because there may be opportunities to continue playing the sport they love, whatever sport that is. And I think that's going to just grow it. I think it's going to make the level higher. It's going to step up everyone else's game to compete and get that opportunity to do that. So I think that's probably a positive thing. If there are any positive things from the new era of sports and how it's changing.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, and we're looking forward to bringing on some Division I coaches here shortly to talk about some of that stuff, right, from an NLI perspective, from the rosters that they're going to have to obtain, what the rules with all that kind of good stuff, and how they're going to handle it. And specifically, we've mentioned this before with Division I volleyball, you have Division I and Division II, and they have different rules. So how's that all going to play out? That's going to be pretty interesting on the men's side, at least. I think the women's are going to be pretty straightforward, but we've said this many times before too, is the next 3-5 years is going to be pretty interesting in collegiate guy athletics, not just volleyball. So it's going to be very interesting. Cole's going to be right in the thick of things. Dave, that probably doesn't have to deal with the NIL so much, but Coley's dealing with it literally right now.
It's for us, it's fun. I mean, I'm excited about it for my kid that he gets that part of it and he's on the good side of it. But it's a cluster for so many, and like I'm seeing the negatives. I'm talking to college coaches who are my friends from every sport, but a lot of it with volleyball, and it's ruining is not the right word, but it's changing it, and it's changing it immensely and very quickly. Some positive, lots of negative, and it's just it's with anything in this world or in this life. It's how you adapt to it, it's how you handle it, and it's how you accept it and move on and push through it. And I think that's what's going to make some of the coaches. These young coaches are going to be the next, Krzyzewskis and the next Al Skates and, all of these folks, that have, coached through these years are going to learn what this is all about. And the great ones are going to turn it into positive.
It's like Cook in Nebraska, right? He said, not only was it perfect timing at my age, but all this new stuff's coming out. Danny's young enough to grasp this stuff and take off with it. He's old school. He's been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. This totally shifts the way coaching is. And he's basically like, it was perfect timing. And then we have somebody young like Danny coming in. She's going to be able to hopefully thrive in this kind of environment. I mean, I saw on the NCAA marketplace that they were hiring like a business manager for the team, a business manager that has to manage that. I mean, so now that's part of their staff. And I'm not talking about for the athletic department. I'm talking about for the volleyball program, and
think about the positive of that though. Think about young women playing volleyball, learning how to manage money, learning how to just,
I hope that's part of it.
Handle life issues is like, we talk about this all the time with our education. I love growing up here, and like practicality of teaching things would be amazing. Like learning how to balance a checkbook, learning how to fill out an application. Like things are different today than they were when we grew up in the late 80s. But those things, especially if these kids are getting money, I don't care if it's $1,000 to $10 million. There's ways to invest. There's ways to use it. There's ways to keep it. There's ways to look at everything from it. And if these colleges are taking advantage of hiring folks, again, budget, money.
Yeah.
Northridge probably doesn't have that, but like you can teach valuable life lessons with, that's what I was talking about when I said some of it's negative, some of it's positive. How do you adapt and how do you bring a culture together with this? That would be one for me. I know Jerry's doing it. Oh, like you're teaching them how to invest. You're teaching them what the value of a dollar is. Like, $1,000 goes
hope.
fast.
You hope. And that's what I was talking about when Holly was on here, is like, I'm hoping they're considering the fallout. I don't want to fall out with these kids, right? Putting those things in place, like, we were saying, to do the money, how to manage money. How many pros do we know? Millions and millions are broke. They're broke, right? So I'm hoping, I'm with you, Coley. Like, you're preaching, like, keep preaching, right? I hope they put those things in place.
And I also think it has to be, again, if anyone's listening to me, I hope they are on this. I think it has to be from the actual schools themselves, the programs themselves, because listen, I'll use me as an example. Like, my dad was a football coach, a high school PE teacher. He didn't even know what the stock market was. There was no IRAs for us growing up. There was nothing, right?
Right.
I love my father, but he didn't understand or know that. So there's parents like that today. Not they're bad. They just, because they don't know. They don't understand. It's not in their wheelhouse. It's something maybe they're not doing. My father's a perfect example. I'm different. Like, I grew up differently than, I didn't choose to coach. I got into business. So I kind of understand that. So I at least can put my children in a position to at least go talk to someone and let them do it. That I didn't have that position when I grew up. My dad didn't do that for me. Or wouldn't have been able to do that for me. So go back to what I said right at the beginning of this little me talking. That's weird. Me talking on a rant is the schools and the NCAA and the foundation of these sports folks really have to look at that and probably try to put that first to give these kids an advantage in life of when they do get a penny to $1 million, and don't expect them or their families and then use that as an excuse. Well, they should have had parents that taught them how to put that money away. I just told you right there about my mom and dad. It's like,
here's a question.
I'm not
for
even
all
using
three
anyone
of you.
else. I'm just using mine. Like
Who's a question for all three of you? What age were you when you knew, like literally knew about the stock market, the Dow Jones? Like, when were you taught that? When?
About 3 years ago when I got on Robinhood.
I believe that, Bear. So we'll stick with that one. we're good. When
he shorted GameStop with everyone else, he got paid big bucks. Big bucks.
No,
That's why he's GC's just hanging out.
Is that
serious
why?
question? Because
it's a great
has been brought up in my life,
Yeah.
and so I'm curious. I'm curious about your guys' background. What about you, Dave?
I was fortunate. I was probably late junior high school, early high school. My grandmother gifted me some shares of an energy company.
Okay.
And then I started tracking it. So at least I kind of understood the idea of shares and growth and things like that. But
Coley, what about you?
When I started work, 25, 26 years old.
I was the same age, Coley.
Because
I was the same age.
I had no idea.
My dad
what
was
it
a banker.
Yeah, and that's
my dad was a banker.
There's a dad a banker, and he didn't teach you that.
Yeah, and I mean, I knew money. I knew how to do a checkbook. I knew the basics. So I was way ahead of some people at Long Beach State. But when it came down to the stock market, I had to commute from Long Beach to Orange County, and this guy would come pick me up, and because we worked together, and he would teach me in the carpool lane.
Yeah. We're going to change it up right now
about what stock was. Oh boy,
yeah,
it's all sweaty. Yeah,
there we go.
So he would teach me about the stock market. He would teach me everything. I had no idea about this stuff because I got into, and Cole, you're probably the same way. I was in high-tech sales and I was making pretty good coin. I didn't know what to do with the money. I'm like, what did people do with this?
Yeah.
They put it under their mattress.
Right. And I had a finance book for the first time. Somebody gave me a financial book. I could not stop reading financial books. It was almost an addiction because I'm like, oh my gosh, where's this been? I mean, and so I just.
So it should be it should be. I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going.
No. But I was just curious because I'm with you. That's why I'm telling you, like, preach it, brother, because it was after college when I knew this.
Yeah.
After college.
So you look at you go back, the Power Fives, it shouldn't even be a question.
No question.
With the money they have and what they're paying everyone,
Agreed.
they should have someone on staff teaching them. Now, listen, if I make $100,000 and I get it and I want to go spend it and someone tells me to invest it and I still go spend it, there's going to be those people. I mean, I spend money all the time and that's what happens, especially like me, I didn't come from any. So when I got some, I'm going to spend it. But if we're teaching and at least giving people the foundation, I mean, think about being 19 years old and getting 100, let's just say it's 100 grand. You get 100 grand as a freshman to go play basketball somewhere. Just take, even if you just took 10 of that and put it in an IRA at 19, by the time you retire, by the time you're 60, you guys all know it is a lot of money. And we're not saying take that 100 and put it all away. We're not saying don't go spend and buy yourself a pair of Jordan shoes and, you know, a watch that you wanted that was $2,000 because you earned it. You've been training your ass off for all these years. But, you know, again, that's just one example, right? Like, so if we have folks that are teaching folks that, and then at these smaller schools, or I shouldn't say smaller, at the schools that don't have the financial backing as the Power Five with the money in the TV contracts, they have to find a way to fundraise if they're going to have college athletics. Again, this is Coley time and speaking to the world out there. If you're going to have college athletics going forward in the new era, you need to hire someone. If you have to fundraise for the school for these athletes, to teach them what to do with this money. You got tutoring programs if they're not up to par for their school. You have people teaching them how to get their grades up from a B to an A or a D to an A or whatever it is. You're there teaching them all the time. You focus on that. You focused on that when I was a student athlete. There needs to be focus on the other part, especially in the generation, what's happening with these kids today. They could, it's not that they're just not setting up, oh, wow, we all see it on TV. Wow, this kid is making $1 million or $500,000. Like, where are they in 5 years from now?
Yeah, exactly. They have a short playing window. We all know that being ex-athletes, and there's a lot more life after being a player.
Yeah. If there's no pro, sorry, you can be in a cubicle and you're going to be making a pro, 60K instead of 120 that you were in college.
Well, you just said even in the pros, how many not millionaires, multi-millionaires in the
30 for 30 did the whole episode on it called Broke.
Yeah, that's
ESPN documentaries.
You know, I would have every kid watch that right their first day at school as an athlete at any program at any school and say, you're getting 100 grand. These guys are making 10 million a year for 10 years.
And they can't manage it.
And they're working at the coffee shop.
I'm sure they have some pretty good stories, though, how they spent that money.
Some great stories.
Oh, Bear.
I'd like to be a part of some of that.
Maybe we should do a podcast on stories, good stories.
I'll stop preaching. I'm passionate about it because I'm living it right now and I see it. And I'm a fortunate one. You know, I just said I didn't grow up with a lot of money. My dad was the old ball coach. Didn't teach me any of that stuff. I got to get into business. I've done decent, for ourselves. I've been able to raise my kids and give them, and my kids are athletes that they're going to get this opportunity, which is great. That's great for us and them. And, I can help them, but they're rare, and like, I would also love the school to be a part of that and teach them so they can learn, they're going to be, they're adults. They're young adults at school. They're not teenagers. They're past 18, few 17s in the younger days, but most of them are all 18 on. So you're talking to adults and teach them like adults and give them chances to be successful when they graduate, not just with a degree, but money in the pocket and for their future generations. You might as well take advantage of it. It's a very short window, 4, maybe 5 years.
You guys talked about fallout there a second ago. One is this. My memory goes back to, do you guys remember the Kent Steffes issue with the suing of the AVP and all that, or? No, so he was at UCLA and in some sort of status there because he did a paid ad that was
he was
in
on there
Volleyball
for
magazine.
like a semester.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Is that why he went to beach and stopped
it was
playing
like
indoor?
That's my point.
He was
like that
AVP
changed the whole
trajectory
of the way that guy went. Trajectory of where he went. But you asked another thing about fallout. So I just read this yesterday. UNC's University of North Carolina was one of the last remaining JV basketball programs, and it was a feeder program. Kids that would play their whole career on the JV team would then for their like senior years would be on the varsity team and so on and so forth. It was just a big thing. It just got cut because of this proposed scholarship limits of House versus NCAA settlement as well. So like Roy Williams was a coach for the JV team. Hubert Davis, coach for the JV team. So that program had to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to change, like we said, and a lot of them will be sad. We talked about this. I don't think you were on it, Dave, but it's what school? I can't believe I forgot the state school in It's not Stanislaus. It's not Hayward.
Sonoma.
It's, thank you. Sonoma State. They just cut all of athletics and just can't do it anymore, right? The funds, the money, everything, from basketball to football to girls soccer to you name it, women's soccer. It's done. And so there's going to be a lot of fallout for that. And so again, I'll give one last plug. Since we're going to see fallout and there's going to be sadness within college sports because of no more JV program at North Carolina, which goes way back, right? No more programs of sports at all at Sonoma. Yeah. Let's make sure, since we're making these changes, drastic changes, and we're making them for those other reasons, let's make sure within those other reasons we're doing right by everyone and giving everyone a fighting chance when they graduate from college with what they've learned and with what they made, right? And those
Once
things.
again, my buddy Steve Yucatel, his son Johnny, got a scholarship to Sonoma, and he's redshirting this year, and he has no idea what he's going to do now.
Yeah.
Or
kind
what?
of a bummer. I mean, he was
That's
on a
what
not a full ride, but what's that?
What sport?
Baseball. Sorry,
Baseball.
He plays baseball up there.
They're one of the best programs in the
idea.
country every year. They're always one of the best D2 programs in the country.
It was a great
baseball.
thing for him to go up there. He was all fired up, and now they're dropping the sport next year, or dropping the whole program. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Sports program, not just baseball.
Yeah, the
whole
athletics
athletic program. There you go.
Yeah,
the entire athletics.
Exactly.
The death penalty. It's over. And it's
he has no idea what he's going to do now.
Yeah, it's gonna compact everything. It's gonna make a lot of schools be a lot more advantageous for others when they weren't. Like I was saying earlier, some schools where you're like, there's no chance I'm going. You're like, yeah, where do I sign? Kind of thing, because the opportunities are gonna slowly shrink. It's already hard enough to get a scholarship. It's going to keep getting harder. But that's it's supposed to be hard, and getting a scholarship is supposed to be special. So, just everyone, I would say, is just keep working hard and always keep your mind open to, like, a lot of the things that Dave and us are talking about today, talking about some great volleyball. If we're talking volleyball here, some great opportunities to play D3 men's volleyball. There's some great chances to play Division II men's volleyball. There's a lot of chances to play Division I, Division II women's volleyball all over the country. Yeah. And so there's so much opportunity to continue to play sports at every level if you want to just, want to do that. And you still got to work hard, and it's still not easy.
Hey, I got a question. When do we get Mooney on this thing?
That's a great question. I've asked her a couple times, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll come on," and she hasn't come on here yet. So
come on, girl.
One of these days, one of these next Sundays when we don't have anything going on, I'll have her come in here and sit next to me, and I'll get the second.
Gotta get the second one going on.
Got to get the second mic working, and it'd be fun to have her on here just for a lot of fun stories.
Be careful, because the New Heights guys had Kelsey's wife on for the first time, and that's like their highest rated ever episode.
I would, even if we only have one mic going on, have Mooney sit in the chair and just have Coley sit there and have the camera on both of them. I think that would be
post
awesome.
Workout too. She's gonna have to come looking like she just worked out.
Don't want to hike.
So she's got all the guns, and she's ready
you're going
to go
around the bend.
No, but she, the thing about her and a lot of her friends. So if we're still talking the pod here, we tell some fun stuff. So if you have not done this yet, there's tons of companies that are taking old tapes, 8-tracks, cassettes, DVDs, and putting into the digital world.
Yeah.
So we're going through a bunch of stuff and trying to, downsize a lot of the stuff and just clean up our house. We've been
visualize
it. So we sent a bunch of stuff in. So right before this, we were watching a couple videos when she was playing in Amsterdam, and Joy was her setter. Joy McKenzie, Furbringer. Yes, Allison Randick, who I've talked about before already. She was there from UCLA. They had 2 other women that were Canadian, but played at Michigan State and Ohio State. So they had 3 Americans, 2 Canadians. So they had 5 foreigners playing on this team. But we were watching video of her games, them dressing up for Halloween, which they don't do. Just some of the fun things on this video. It was pretty cool. So just, the stories that she can tell is way from me.
Amsterdam's
but
a
it's
great
kinda fun.
town too.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
great
She
town.
was there. Yeah, she's got some good
Yeah,
stories.
she played
in
there.
Amsterdam.
I mean, and with
That's cool.
two of her best friends,
Oh.
and that lived in Amsterdam playing professional volleyball, and they won the championship too, which was kind of cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, for
Their
sure.
worst cities have to go play professionally.
I
She's
mean,
a
I had
must.
to go visit a couple times. It was
Oh,
just
yeah. Such a
no.
bummer to go.
Such a-
see your
Wow.
such a
girlfriend
bummer
in
to go over
Amsterdam.
there.
Way to
to-
take that one for the team.
yeah,
Red
I had to
District.
be there.
Yeah.
So we weren't even married a year when she went over there. We were married like 10 months, and she got the opportunity in the contract. And of course, I was like, "You're out of your mind if you're not going." Like,
Yeah.
whatever
go.
the case was. So she went and played, and we'll tell that story when she's on.
Yeah.
When was that? Was that?
This was in
Mid-90s?
It was 97.
Oh, okay.
So she went over. No, excuse me. She went over in 98. So 98 to 99.
Okay.
So we celebrated, and that's another part of the story. I'll wait because we have so many, but had an unbelievable New Year's in Amsterdam. Like Geeter, Jimmy Klein, who I mentioned today,
They were there?
who his son plays at SC. Like we all came over to celebrate New Year's, and we had like 30 people there. Barnett, I have a story for this steakhouse we took over for dinner from a bunch of folks. The Hughes brothers, Jason Hughes played at Northridge. His brother played at Santa Barbara.
Yeah. It's
They were
Schroed's
awesome.
buddy. They grew up together.
They were playing somewhere. They flew in. Like we had like 30 folks that playing all over Europe, and then a bunch of obviously folks came over from the United States to just have a good time in Amsterdam for New Year's, and it was a fun time. That was in 98, 99.
Oh, jeez, that'd be awesome. Boys, good pod, good job.
I mean, I talked all the time, so that's nothing new.
That's all right.
That's what we love,
I have
Coley.
the
Come
power
on.
of editing, so it's okay. I can edit.
power
your
of
shit.
I gave you
editing,
shit
so
last
it's
time,
fine.
Coley, but
No, but
Oh
the
my
thing is,
god, that was
I was
so
just
funny
kidding,
on the
you know.
last
keep
pod.
giving me
by the way.
shit. I deserve it,
It
and
was
I want you to give me
so-
shit.
I
That's
love
the best
hearing
part.
you, dude.
It's the best
Honestly.
part of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. So you guys remember one thing. You always set the pipe and you hit subscribe. Just remember that.
Always.
Yeah, so you said you had 3 nuggets. Let's hear it, Dave.
I mean, we were obviously getting down on the NCAA, but I will say this: a couple of things that I've noticed out here. One is University of Maryland Eastern Shore starting a D1 men's program.
Yeah,
this year.
HBCU, right?
HBCU, absolutely.
First ever Division I HBCU volleyball. Yep.
One of my sons at Eastern Mennonite, he's got a player who's already transferring over there, and they've already made an announcement, but that's a little bit of a bummer, but good on him. He's going from D3 to D1. Good for him. Seriously, he's a great guy. Great kid. The other thing I would say is that I guess last year, Fontbonne out of Missouri closed down, shut the whole program down after like a 12-year run. But out of those ashes, Westminster rose and now is a solid D3 young program, first-year program that was in Ohio with us. And those guys could ball out really, really well. They came from some of the largest, not only the Fontbonne team, but some of the largest clubs out of the St. Louis area as well. So I'm just saying, like, little nuggets like this. Oh, the other one I shared with Sully is the School for the Deaf, Gallaudet. Is that how you pronounce
You gave
it?
me a shout out last pod. If you would
You
have
did.
listened to it.
Dude, you said you just posted it.
You did. You posted it today.
I did last
actually.
night.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Coley, did you hear it?
work, Sully.
I did. I did hear it. I did hear it.
Okay.
Coley did hear it, and
Yeah.
he works. I did hear it, and I work.
Yeah.
So what's your excuse? Nothing, because I
I
did
was-
give you a shout out.
But I don't want to just pile on, everyone, the NCAA and all this stuff. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. And, at the end of the day, this is their bed, and they have to lie in it.
Yep.
They had choices and chances for decades to change this. You mentioned Kent Steffes today. The guy wasn't making millions of dollars on the AVP. He should have been able to play college volleyball.
Yeah.
The kicker in Colorado years ago, that was the skier.
Skier. That's
He
right.
should have been able to get his Rosignol sponsorship. O'Bannon should have been able to get paid for his jersey when he was playing on the camera. I've used him before, but Terrell Pryor selling his jersey after the Orange Bowl, like that's his name. If they would have not been short-sighted, we wouldn't be here today. We would be here, but we'd be here differently with guardrails and the way they did it. But they chose not to. And, again, they chose not to. And so because of that, they're stuck. And I just, again, the blame game's not really the right way to do it. I just am hopeful because, like you said, there are tons of positive things. We've talked about some unbelievable hirings with coaches. We've talked about how beach volleyball in the women's game is growing. It's growing in high school. You talk about every week about men's Division III. We talk about Division I. You just mentioned, a historically black college coming into Division I. Like, there's so many great things that are happening in the NCAA and with collegiate sports for both the men and the women. 100%. But there's also a lot of negative, and that's what's really seen in the spotlight.
Sure.
And I think we got to try to turn the negative to the positive. But again, reiterate, the coaches in all sports, from lacrosse to women's volleyball to football, the ones that are going to be successful are the ones that are going to learn,
Gonna get it.
accept, and fine-tune how to use what today is for their benefit. And when they do, you're going to see these coaches continue to crush it and continue to get the greatest players and have great 10, 20, 30, 40-year careers, and they're going to be the next Cook. They're going to be the next Skates. You know, they're going to be the next whoever it would be, and it's just going to take some adaptation and understanding and vigor to push through what's happening.
I'll be curious if they start hiring JC coaches in the Division I level, because the transfer portal, right? Every 2 years, they're going to be used to that stuff. And then with the NIL, they got to learn that, just like you said, especially if they're young. That could be an easy transition for those guys. I mean, because the recruiting is going to be different, and that's all going to be interesting. But Kent Steffes, same birthday as mine. Oh, by the way, but that guy, when he played that short time at UCLA, he was by far the guy that blocked me straight down. I did not see him. It was that low backside to the pin, and I was up there, was hanging up there, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to crush this guy down the line. And all of a sudden he just stuck out his left hand, and that thing went 1 inch line. I'm like, oh, well, that's Ken Steffes, I guess.
He was great. He's another one that I actually
down.
I think would be great to have on here, because he has so much just from that, like just hearing that story about he was at Stanford, coming to UCLA, not being able to play for whatever reason, then going to the volleyball, and he had an okay, volleyball, beach volleyball career.
Sure.
It's decent. But he's gnarly. So I'd love to get him on. I'll reach out to him and see if he'll come as well. So
that's crazy.
He has so much, so many stories.
Iconic in our generation there,
Absolutely.
Very iconic.
And he was like Hugh Foster back in the day. I think we're the same age, same year, and he was just a man among boys.
And he was
and Trevor Sherman. Those guys.
Trevor Sherman.
He was
awesome.
in Iowa, Council Bluffs or something in Iowa, coaching. The last I heard in the last couple of years. Yep, Trevor was. Yep.
I got to play against him 1 year in college. I remember it. It was fun to play against him. But I mean, like we said about all these stories, I think he'd be a great one to tell, not just because of his beach career, but like just the underlying. If we're going to talk about collegiate sports, right? Like
exactly.
That he'd be great to understand,
because he was caught up in that. Yep.
He was caught up in
what was his view of that? Well, that shit show, was all going on, right?
And how does he feel now? I mean, of course, like all of us, like I'm excited my kid's going to get paid. Like I didn't, whatever. But like looking back at that, like, like he paved the way. Like a lot of these guys did. The O'Bannon case is probably what was the first domino
for sure.
It was the first domino that was pushed, and ever since then, rightfully so. But ever since then, things have just, the wheels have fallen off for the NCAA. But he would. I'd love to hear his story. I never even talked to him about that in all the years when I used to go and support him and watch him in beach and all of those things. I never even really. We talked some stories about him hooping against some other college athletes and stuff, but never that. That'd be an interesting story to hear.
Yep, that's what we're here for. Okay, boys. Well, again, another one. Everybody subscribe, set the pipe. That's what y'all just need to do. Just set the pipe. CK, Bear.
Good stuff.
Dave DeTinley. Thanks, guys.
Good time.
See y'all. See you guys.
Fun stuff.